Trouble in tropical paradise.
You may have heard about this place, a massive Palm Beach mansion selling for a record $80 million last week. But not all high-priced Florida property is doing so well. Our next guest says the mortgage mess has trickled up to even the most desirable properties. We welcome Chad Roffers, CEO of Sky Sotheby's. Hi, Chad.
Hey, good afternoon, Liz. How are you today?
So tell us the prices. We want to know what's coming down.
You know, we've seen a correction at this point to about 2004 prices in the Florida marketplace. We're starting to see some signs of stability there, but there's certainly been a significant give back of at least paper gains from 2004, 5, 6, and 7.
Now, Chad, of course, a lot of us have crocodile tears when we hear about millionaires not getting as many millions as they thought they would. But let's start with a couple I think we have pictures of. There's one in Siesta Key, Florida, just to give you an example of how prices have come down. $12.8 million sold for $8 million. Describe this house.
Sure, this is an outstanding property. This is a new home. It had never been occupied. Was developed on spec by a regional custom home builder. Ended up going back to the lender, and we sold it last week for $8 million, down from a list price of $10 million. I will point out, however, that $8 million is a record sale price for Siesta Key, about a $2 million increase over the high water mark.
It's kind of hard to cry too many tears when you're still getting record numbers.
Yeah, that's certainly the case, and I think that that's probably the punchline that we're seeing is, you know, asking prices certainly are have a way to go in terms of coming back to market, but when you look at the historical prices versus what we're getting today, there's still big numbers.
Chad, let me show our viewers this next one, 7647 Sanderling Road. This is in Siesta Key, Florida. It was originally listed at $2.1 million. It was last listed at 1.6, and it went for $1,160,500. So it's almost as if the market is moderating on its own to prices that are way more realistic.
That's certainly the case. This is a property. It's interesting that I looked at the history. This property sold in 1994 for $450,000. So if you look at historically 94 to 2008, 1.1 million is still a pretty significant gain. But I think the important point to note is that the recent list price of $1.6 million was probably too high. And this is a property we sold in a recent real estate auction that we conducted 2 weeks ago. And the other interesting thing to point out was I looked up the assessed value of our local tax assessor, and the property was assessed for $1,165,000.
Okay.
So the marketplace certainly does have a way of getting things right.
Well, it sure does. And in one case, there's a place in Fort Lauderdale, again, a multi-million-dollar home, which is beyond a lot of our reaches, but it sold for $2.5 million, but it was originally listed at $4.5 million, so almost in half.
Yeah, this is a property, and I look at the southeast Florida marketplace, Broward and Dade counties, tended to be a little bit further behind the rest of the state of Florida in terms of a correction, and it seems to still be correcting. And so we're seeing in sales that we've conducted on that part of the coast or that part of the state a greater disparity between the contract prices that we're getting and the asking prices at the current time.
But all we heard, Chad, was that beachfront condos were standing empty, that some of the projects haven't even been finished. What kind of bargains are out there right now for somebody who does have cash and good credit?
You know, there are incredible deals right now in the marketplace. The fact is that many people are waiting to buy until they sell maybe their primary residence or another property that they purchased. But for those who were either smart enough or fortunate enough to have cash or wait on the sidelines, they're experiencing probably an all-time high in terms of the number of choices that are available to them. And furthermore, they're finding sellers that are ready, willing, and able to negotiate significant price concessions.
We know that spring is historically the best time to sell, but there are a lot of folks that are going to be waiting until fall when sellers are even more desperate than they are now. What do you think of that strategy?
You know, I think that certainly right now, if you're in the market to buy real estate, you should be buying it because you want to live there or you want to spend time there, you want to enjoy yourself there. And in my opinion, when supply is at the highest is when you want to be negotiating to buy. and by almost every account, inventory levels have peaked. And I think we're going to see a slow and orderly kind of migration back to balance over the next few years. But right now, if I were a buyer, you have more choices than you've ever had, and the sellers are waiting to hear from you.
Yeah, the buyers hold the key. Thank you, Chad, so much for pointing all of this out to us.
Chad Roffers of Sky Sotheby's. Great to see you. Best of luck to you. Thanks for coming in. The countdown to the closing bell is on. Well, we